This isn't about getting rich. It's about becoming whole. You've probably heard it before, the promises of wealth, success, fulfillment. They come wrapped in loud voices, flashy edits, and quick-fix solutions. But none of them speak to you, the quiet part of you that's been searching for something deeper. This video isn't another hustle mantra. It's not here to sell you a morning routine or tell you to work harder until you burn out. This is something else entirely. It's a conversation between the part of you that's exhausted from chasing more and the part of you that knows there must be another way. A way that doesn't demand you change everything overnight, but asks you to return to something you already have, your ability to choose how you live. That's the heart of Stoicism. It's not about suppressing your emotions or living coldly. It's about seeing clearly, choosing consciously. It's not about pretending nothing matters. It's about knowing what truly does. You see, real wealth isn't measured in numbers. It's found in your discipline, your peace, your energy, and the way you show up every single day. And the Stoics, they understood that long before any of us tried to fit it into a podcast clip or a self-help book. This video is for you. If you've ever sat with your own thoughts and wondered why success still feels hollow. If you've worked hard but felt lost. If you've done everything right but something inside still feels out of rhythm. Here we're going to explore 7 Stoic principles, not as rules, but as reminders. Reminders that your strength isn't in how loud you are, but in how steady you can remain. That the richest life isn't built by chance, but by character. So take a breath. You don't need to rush this. Let's begin, not with a sprint, but with stillness. Because maybe, just maybe, the path to wealth has less to do with what you earn and everything to do with who you become. You're not here by accident. You're ready, even if you don't feel it yet. Principle 1, discipline over desire. This is where it begins. Not with grand plans or overnight success, but with a quiet moment of truth. A moment where you look at yourself honestly, without excuses, where you ask, what do I want most? And what am I willing to do for it? Because the truth is, most of what pulls you away from the life you want doesn't come from the outside. It comes from desire, not desire in its purest form, like the longing to grow, to love, to contribute, but the impulsive kind, the craving, the urge, the momentary itch. And here's the hard part no one talks about. Desire often feels urgent. It disguises itself as need. It whispers, just this once. You've earned it. You can start again tomorrow. But you and I both know, tomorrow has a way of slipping further and further away. Discipline is not punishment, it's protection. It's the quiet shield between who you are and who you used to be. Every time you say no to a quick fix, you're saying yes to a deeper version of yourself. One that's rooted, one that's patient, one that isn't shaken by every whim. You already know what it feels like to chase the high, the scroll, the snack, the shortcut. And you also know how empty it feels afterward. But have you ever noticed what it feels like when you say no to that urge, even once? That subtle strength that lingers, that moment of self-respect that no one else sees, but you feel it. That's where real power is born. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Discipline doesn't ask you to be cold or rigid. It simply asks you to stay committed, especially when it's inconvenient, because the moment you don't feel like showing up is exactly when you need to. The Stoics believe that freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. It's the ability to not do what harms you, even when you want to. And that kind of freedom, it's rare. It's powerful, and it's yours for the building. Think of your habits like a compass. Every choice is a degree. slightly adjusting the direction of your life. One day of discipline won't change everything, but 100 days, a year, you won't even recognize who you've become, and that's a good thing, because you're not meant to stay the same. Desire wants comfort, discipline wants character, and right now, you're being asked to choose. Will you keep trading long-term peace for short-term pleasure? Or will you plant your feet and decide, this time I do things differently? The world tells you to follow your feelings. But what if your feelings are tired, confused, triggered by things you barely understand? That's when discipline steps in. Not as a harsh voice, but as a loyal guide. It says you don't need to feel like it. Just take the next step. And when you do, you begin to trust yourself again. So ask yourself this: what is one thing you can say no to today? Not because you're trying to prove something, but because you're becoming someone. Someone who doesn't need to chase every impulse. Someone who keeps promises to themselves, even when no one's watching. That's how the Stoic path begins. Not with control over others, but with control over yourself. Not with wealth in your hands, but with strength in your spirit. You are not your urges. You are the one who watches them rise and chooses wisely. And in that choice, repeated again and again, you build something stronger than comfort. You build integrity. And from that, everything else follows. Principle 2. Know what you can control and let go of what you can't. There's a kind of peace you've been looking for. Not the kind you find on a vacation or in a perfect morning routine, but the kind that stays with you in the middle of uncertainty, pressure, disappointment. The kind of peace that comes from knowing what's yours to carry and what isn't. Most of us live in a constant state of resistance. We fight reality. We wrestle with outcomes. We replay conversations, trying to rewrite what's already done. But no matter how hard you think, worry, or push, there are things you simply can't control. And maybe that's not a weakness. Maybe it's wisdom. The Stoics were clear about this. Freedom doesn't come from having power over the world. It comes from understanding what part of the world belongs to you, and what part never did. And the only thing that truly belongs to you, your thoughts, your actions, your choices. Let that sink in. You can't control the market. You can't control what they say about you. You can't control how people treat you, or how fast things move, or when they fall apart. But you can control how you respond, how you carry yourself, how you keep your center when everything around you is shifting. You've been exhausted, not just from doing too much, but from holding what isn't yours to hold. You've tried to fix other people's problems, prove your worth, or predict every possible outcome, and maybe you've wondered why it still doesn't feel like enough. It's because the weight was never meant for you. Letting go isn't giving up. It's giving back what was never yours in the first place. Control what you can, and release the rest with grace. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you show up fully, give your best, and understand that the outcome is never guaranteed. Only the effort is. Think about it. Some of the moments you're most proud of weren't the ones where everything went perfectly. They were the moments you stayed calm in chaos, chose patience when you were tired, spoke kindly even when no one deserved it. That's real control. That's strength from the inside out. You don't need to control the world to feel safe. You just need to trust yourself enough to face it, whatever comes. And that trust, it starts with surrender. Not a passive giving up, but an active decision to stop wasting your energy on what doesn't serve you. So next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go, gently, repeatedly, until your nervous system learns it's safe to stop gripping so tightly. And if the answer is yes, then step in fully, with clarity, with courage, with calm. Because when you pour your energy into what you can influence, your life becomes lighter, stronger, more focused. That's the Stoic path. Not control over everything, but composure in anything. And you were never meant to live at the mercy of chaos. You were meant to walk through it with clarity. So let this be your practice. To live from the inside out. To choose action over anxiety. To meet the unknown with presence, not panic. Let go of what isn't yours. Own what is. And watch how your world starts to shift. Not because everything outside changes, but because you do. Principle 3. Work is a sacred practice. You weren't made to drift. There's something in you that wants to build, to create, to contribute. Not just for applause, not just for money, but because deep down it feels right when your effort means something. When what you touch with your hands, or your mind, or your heart, becomes part of something greater than you. We often hear that work is a burden, a necessary evil, a grind. But the Stoics saw it differently. They saw work, real, intentional work, as sacred. Not because of what it produced, but because of what it shaped within you. Work isn't just about the outcome, it's about your becoming. Every task you take seriously, no matter how small, becomes a reflection of your character. How you show up in the quiet moments, when no one's watching, when it doesn't seem to matter, says everything about who you are becoming. And here's the truth. It's not the work that gives you dignity. You give dignity to the work by the way you do it. Whether you're writing code, folding laundry, healing people, or building a dream that no one else believes in yet, your work is a form of self-respect. It's your declaration to the world. I care enough to give my best even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. You may not always love what you do, but you can always bring love into how you do it. There's meaning in showing up fully, in refining your craft, in improving your skill, in doing it not for recognition, but because excellence is part of your nature. Think about the times you felt most in flow, not distracted. Not forcing, just present, focused. Clear, that wasn't a fluke. That was your inner life syncing with your outer action. That's what sacred work feels like. You're not just working for income, you're working for alignment. Because every project, every meeting, every hour of focused effort, it shapes you. It trains your discipline. It builds your patience. It teaches you resilience. And when you begin to see your work not as something you have to escape from, but as a practice, like meditation or prayer or art, something shifts. It becomes less about what you get and more about what you give. Even on the hard days, especially on the hard days, your effort matters, not because it guarantees success, but because it guarantees growth. You become stronger, sharper, clearer, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet repetition of showing up. So ask yourself, how would I approach my work if I saw it as a sacred act? What would change if I stopped waiting to feel motivated and started treating my work as a mirror of who I am? You don't have to chase passion every day. Sometimes you just have to bring presence, because the more present you are, the more meaningful your work becomes, regardless of the title, the paycheck, or the prestige. This is your craft. your offering, your path. Treat it like something holy. Even if no one claps for you, even if it's slow, even if it feels ordinary. Because nothing is ever ordinary when it's done with intention. The Stoics believed that purpose isn't found, it's practiced. And you, every time you choose to bring your full self into your work, you're practicing, you're becoming, you're walking the Stoic path, one action at a time. And that's sacred. Principle 4, live below your means, think beyond your limits. Freedom doesn't come from what you own, it comes from what you can walk away from. In a world that constantly tells you to want more, buy more, show more, choosing to live simply can feel like rebellion. But the Stoics knew something most people still struggle to see. True wealth isn't about having it all, it's about needing less. Living below your means isn't about scarcity. It's about strength, the strength to delay gratification, the strength to say, I have enough. And that's powerful. You don't need to prove anything through what you wear, drive, or display, because real security doesn't come from what others see. It comes from the peace you feel when you know you're not trapped by your lifestyle. When you're not chained to debt, pressure, or the exhausting chase for more. And here's the paradox. The more simply you live, the more space you create to dream bigger. Because when you're no longer overwhelmed by bills, image, or appearances, your mind is free to expand. You start thinking beyond the next paycheck, beyond keeping up, beyond surviving. You shift from scarcity to strategy, from spending to building, from consuming to creating. Think about it. Some of the most brilliant minds in history lived with very little because they weren't wasting energy managing a false life. They were focused on creating a real one grounded in meaning. Purpose, vision, you can choose that too. You can choose to stop measuring success by what you have and start measuring it by what you're capable of, because you are your greatest asset, not your car, not your house, not your status. You, your mind, your courage, your discipline, that's where true wealth lives. So live lean, but think wide. Cut what's not essential, not because you're shrinking, but because you're making room to grow. Every dollar you save is a choice. Every impulse you resist is a step toward ownership, not just of things, but of yourself. You don't have to wait until you make more to build wealth. You start where you are, with what you have, and you make your values louder than your wants. This is how freedom is built. Not by wishing for more, but by mastering what's already in your hands. And once you have that foundation, the sky opens up. You can invest, you can build, you can take risks that others can't, because you're not living in fear of losing what you can't afford to have in the first place. Living below your means is a declaration. I control my money, it doesn't control me. And when you learn to do that, you become dangerous in the best way, untouchable by trends, unshaken by lack, unmoved by status games, because you know who you are and what truly matters. Now pair that grounded way of living with expansive thinking, and you've found the formula. Live simply, dream boldly, root yourself in discipline, and then dare to imagine more. Because you weren't meant to stay small. You were meant to grow, not by collecting more, but by becoming more. And that starts the moment you say, I don't need everything. I just need what's real. From there, you're unstoppable, not because you have the most, but because you've learned how to make the most out of less and still believe in something greater. That's wealth the world can't touch, and it's yours to build. Principle 5. Health is a moral responsibility. Your body is not just yours, it's your vessel, your bridge to the world. Your instrument for service, for presence, for purpose. And how you care for it or neglect it ripples far beyond just you. The Stoics understood this deeply. To them, health wasn't vanity. It wasn't just about looking a certain way. It was a matter of ethics. A quiet duty, a reflection of respect for life, for others, and for yourself. You don't have to chase perfection. You just have to take ownership, because your strength, your energy, your mental clarity, your resilience, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It's built day by day, meal by meal, breath by breath. And when you start showing up for your health, something shifts. You stop dragging yourself through the day. You start leading yourself through it. This isn't about shame. This is about stewardship. There's a quiet kind of power in simply saying, I will no longer treat my health like it's optional. You matter too much. Your mind is too sharp. Your mission is too real. To let your body become a burden, health gives you the stamina to do what matters, to work with focus, to love with presence, to rise when life knocks you down. When you take care of yourself, you're not being selfish. You're preparing yourself to be of service, to be dependable, grounded, clear. Because you can't pour from a cup that's cracked and leaking. You don't have to be extreme. You just have to be consistent. Move your body, not to punish it, but to honor it. Eat foods that fuel you, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. Rest when you need to, not because you're lazy, but because you're wise enough to understand recovery is strength. You've already felt what it's like to live in a fog, to run on empty, to numb your body and hope your mind will stay sharp. And you know deep down that it's not sustainable. You deserve more than survival. You deserve to feel alive. This isn't about chasing an image. It's about building integrity, because every time you care for your health, you're keeping a promise to yourself. A promise that says, I won't abandon this body. I won't ignore its signals. I will treat it like it matters, because it does. Your health impacts your clarity, your wealth, your relationships, your ability to focus, to create, to be at peace. And when you show up well in your body, you're better able to show up fully in your life. This is your responsibility and also your opportunity. Not to be perfect, but to be honest with yourself, to say, I haven't always made the best choices, but I'm choosing differently now. To stop waiting for the right moment, the right program, the right motivation, and just begin. Gently, steadily, like it's a sacred act, because it is. You don't have to overhaul everything overnight. You just have to start treating your health like it matters, the way you'd treat anything precious, with care, with consistency, with patience. And as you do, something powerful happens. You reclaim your energy, your clarity, your presence, and suddenly the world feels less heavy. Not because it changed, but because you did. Your body is not your enemy. It's your ally. And the more you care for it, the more it will carry you toward the life you were meant to live. Clear, capable, grounded, ready for whatever comes. That's the moral weight of health. Not pressure, not guilt, but a quiet, steady call. Take care of the gift you've been given. And in doing so, you honor not just yourself, but everything and everyone you're here to serve. Principle 6. Memento Mori. Let mortality shape your priorities. You are going to die. Not as a threat, not as something to fear, but as the most grounding truth there is. Memento Mori, remember you must die, was never meant to be morbid. It was meant to set you free. Because once you truly accept that your time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop giving your days away to things that don't matter. to arguments that don't matter, to impressing people who don't matter. And you start paying attention to what does. Imagine if today was your last. How would you speak to the ones you love? What would you finally let go of? What would you stop postponing? There's a strange kind of clarity that death gives. Not to make life darker, but to make it sharper, brighter, more real. You've felt it before, that sting when you lose someone or almost lose something, that aching awareness of how fragile this all is. And in those moments, nothing else matters but love. Time. Truth. That's the lesson Memento Mori brings you, without waiting for loss to teach it the hard way. This principle is not about obsessing over death. It's about honoring life, about remembering that your days are not infinite, that every morning is a gift, that every choice is a vote toward who you become. You don't have to live in fear. You just have to live on purpose, to stop drifting through routines that numb you, to stop putting off what your heart keeps asking for, to stop assuming you'll get to it later. There may not be a later, but there is now. Now is the moment you hold in your hands. And when you remember it won't last forever, you cherish it differently. You love deeper. You forgive faster. You speak braver. You stop waiting to be ready and just begin. And yes, this truth can be uncomfortable. But discomfort isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. Let it sharpen your vision. Let it guide your choices. Let it remind you that you're not here to coast, you're here to live. Memento Mori is not about death, it's about alignment, about making sure the way you spend your life lines up with what you say you value. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Because no one knows how long they have, and that's not a curse. It's a call to be awake, to be intentional, to show up for your own life fully while you still can. When you carry Memento Mori in your heart, your priorities shift. Petty things lose their grip, status fades, only what's real remains. The people you love, the work that matters, the moments that move your soul. That is the kind of wealth that doesn't vanish. That's the kind of success that doesn't expire. So the question isn't, what would you do if you had more time? The question is, what will you do now, knowing you don't? Let this truth shape your decisions. Let it strip away the noise. Let it bring you closer to who you were meant to be, not someday, but today, while you still have the chance. Principle 7. Virtue is the only true wealth. What if everything you've been taught to chase, the money, the titles, the applause, wasn't the point at all? What if the real wealth, the kind that can't be taken, isn't sitting in your bank account, but quietly rooted in your character? The Stoics believed this deeply. Virtue is the only true wealth, because when everything else slips through your fingers, and at some point it will, all you're left with is who you are. Not what you have, not what people think, but what lives in your choices, your integrity, your soul. Virtue isn't about being perfect, it's about being aligned with your deeper values, with what you know is right, even when it's hard, with the quiet voice inside that says, do good, speak honestly, live with courage, give with grace. And here's the truth, you already know what that voice sounds like. You've heard it in moments when you stayed kind, even when you were hurt, when you told the truth, even when it cost you, when you lifted someone else up, even when no one was watching. Those are the moments when you were truly wealthy, because you were rich in character. You've been told that success is measured in numbers, followers, dollars, milestones. But the Stoic path reminds you, true success is measured by who you become in the process. Because money can come and go, circumstances shift, but your character, that's yours to build, to guard, to grow. Virtue is a quiet kind of power. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase. It moves with calm conviction. It's the reason someone trusts you, why your word carries weight, why you can sleep at night knowing you didn't sell out your values to fit in or get ahead. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you build your life on virtue, real success follows, not always instantly, not always in the way the world measures it, but in peace, in purpose, in the kind of legacy that lasts. You already carry that seed of virtue inside you. It's there in your instincts to be generous, in your courage to keep going, in your desire to live a life that means something. So ask yourself, what kind of wealth do I want to leave behind? What kind of person do I want to become, no matter the outcome? Because who you are when no one's watching, who you are when the choice is hard, that is your truest currency. And the beautiful part, you don't need permission to start. You can choose today to be honest, to be kind, to be brave, to stand for something that matters, even in a world that's chasing everything else. That's what makes you unshakable. That's what makes you free. The Stoic path doesn't promise ease, but it does promise this, that if you walk with virtue, you'll walk with meaning. You'll build a kind of wealth no crisis can destroy, no market can touch, and no time can erase. This is the wealth you take with you, and this, my friend, is the wealth worth living for. Conclusion: the wealth that can't be measured. You've just walked through 7 timeless principles. Not rules, not hacks, but truths, deep ones. The kind that don't expire, the kind that whisper to something ancient inside you, and maybe something stirred while you listened. Not noise, not hype, but a quiet recognition that this path feels real, feels right, because it doesn't ask you to be someone else. It asks you to become who you already are underneath the noise. Discipline over desire. Control what you can. Let go of what you can't. Make work sacred. Live simply, but dream beyond limits. Honor your body, remember your mortality, and anchor it all in virtue. These aren't just Stoic ideas, they're your compass to live on your terms, to build wealth that matters in your health, your relationships, your peace, your legacy. Because true success isn't found outside of you, it's built within you, one choice at a time. So here's what I invite you to do next. Don't rush into action. Take a breath. Sit with this. Pick just one principle, the one that spoke to you the most, and ask, what would it look like if I lived this out today? Then begin. Gently, intentionally, not to impress, not to achieve, but to align, to return to what matters. If this resonated with you, share it, not for the algorithm, but for someone else who might need it. Someone who's been chasing everything except themselves. Subscribe if this kind of truth is something you want more of. And in the comments, let me know, which principle is yours right now? Which one are you ready to live? Because this isn't just a video, it's an invitation to walk your own Stoic path, to wealth, to purpose, to peace. And it begins right here, with you. Stay steady, stay true, and walk forward with heart.